You could have heard this episode 1 week early on our Patreon, patreon.com/IndieHeadsPodcast. But join us for as low as $1 a month. You'll see episodes early and get access to our Discord server. All our upcoming episodes we open our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. And for our FYC episodes, it is 1 week early. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Tien, Georgia Mikowski, James Boss, Holiday Kirk, Tyler, Marcy Anime, Chance Holdup, Delaney Mothman, Josiah Duncan, Jenna, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dragula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Jeremy Bull, Alex Grichmanoff, JP, Matthew Taylor, Breen Hare, Drew Wharton, I Like Books, Sarah Moore, Griff Ballard, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Cal 50, Piss Admiral Dildo Captain and Tennille, Chris Wade, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Erase Red Baby, Keep Autism Weird, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Zach, Gavin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon. We'll receive a bonus episode every month, get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode.
Okay, Matty, I'm going to tell you a little story about a recent concert I went to. I don't go to many concerts these days because, I live in South Carolina and there's all sorts. Like, I got a good gig calendar going right now. I got a really good one. Like, I'm going to go see They Are Gutting a Body of Water sometime in the near future.
I'm so jealous.
Also, Callous Cowboys, Boy Genius, Deaf Heaven, Deer Hoof, those are all on the itinerary, but like this is going out to September. It's like a long ways away. But anyway, there's a band I want to see 3 times this year. Well, actually, I want to see them 2 times, but I got to see them what will be the first of 3 times because I'm an absolute freak. Let me tell you a report of the Asheville house show scene, because let me tell you, I live here all this time, and I've just never gone to DIY gigs, because, like, turns out that driving an hour and a half each way and then having to go to a house show is, like, hell on my body. So I don't do it that often, but I saw a good opportunity recently, and so I found out that the Asheville house show scene is populated by 2 kinds of people. Number 1, very cool queer folks, just like really chill, like sick freaks like me. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. And then cis people who dress like Carly Hartzman and MJ Linderman. Like they all dress like those two. And it's only made funnier when you go to the gig and then suddenly you turn around and like the actual Carly Hartzman and MJ Linderman are standing next to you at the gig. And you're just like, oh yes, this all makes sense now. Like literally, I just turned around and like I see Carly standing next to me. I'm just like, what the hell are you doing here? Anyway, yeah, so I figure that's a good way to start this discussion because we're talking about Wednesday, Rats All God. What a record, let me tell you. So yes. Yeah, I went to go to a house show because Carly was playing a solo set there, but it turned out to not be a solo set. It was her and MJ. Like MJ was playing drums and she was doing guitar. It was a really weird setup, but it kind of worked in a weird way.
Was it just like Japan Droid's Wednesday, essentially?
They didn't go quite that hard, but like it was like pretty great vibes. Just like a really laid back one. They played like mostly it was like 4 Rat cuts, then I believe Billboard off the first album, and then played a song that they never play ever, Fish Pepsi. Which is a song like a delicious beverage. Smoking weed out of a Pepsi can and then listening to Fish and going, man, I kind of hate this experience.
Oh my god! And they just played the Hollywood Bowl, and that was a whole. I think I was at my friend's like birthday party, and 2 of the friends had to leave early because they had Fish tickets. And like, well, how long is the show gonna be? And it's just like it's gonna be 3 hours.
Yeah,
3 hours straight of Fish. Good luck.
I've tried to do Fish. I just can't. I can't.
It's a bridge too far.
I need to pull up the full line from the song because it's even funnier in context. Like, oh God. It's so good. Just Fish Pepsi is a great song title too. It's featuring Owen Ashworth from Advanced Space. Fish. Here we go. Yeah, when the cicadas sync up, I don't sleep in that room anymore. When the cicadas sync up and they breathe too hard, we watched a Fish concert and Human Centipede. Two things I now wish I had never seen. It's just like every Wednesday song just has that perfect little anecdote that I'm just like, yep, you got it, you nailed it. And that is why they were one of my favorite bands on this planet. But yeah, they played a tight little concert. It was like 6 songs and just a real good time, and like everybody was fucking singing along to Bull Believer at the very end. It's just like, yeah, that's how you do a show. That's how you do a little house show. And I got home at 1 a.m, and I was just like, cool, let's never do this again. But yeah, those songs from Rat Saw God, let me tell you, no matter what format you see them on, man, they go hard. I've seen them in 2 formats now, with the full band and the 2-person show, and they're nice. And yeah, this is just, it's a consummately great record, which is,
yes,
just like something that I admire. It's just a band. If I like every year you see a band that you've just been like you see somebody like they've been rooting for their band, like they're like, this is my band, they're gonna do it this time, like they're gonna not only just do a great record that I like but that everyone likes because I believe in them. You have this like deluded self spirit of like, well, this is my group. Like you're betting on them like you're in fucking Vegas or something. Although in my case, I actually am like betting on some bands in a music fantasy draft league. However, I did not get Wednesday in my drafts because somebody else took them first pick. I'm still mad about that. But yeah,
you should have done some Oakland A's fucking Moneyball trading, being like, well, hey, if you go for this prospect,
Listen, I thought Frank Ocean was going to be a good first round pick.
And again, when did this draft happen?
In January. I was like, man. Yeah,
see, I get it. I here's the thing. I would not have done that personally because again, I think it is the someone having been an Odd Future stan for so long and kind of having I still love Frank's music, but I've kind of been slightly disillusioned with him for some time. I understand why you made the bet, and I think literally up until the day of Coachella, that bet would have made sense. But like obviously post that performance, like, oh yeah, no, he's
no, I tanked it. I tanked it so hard.
I think now, Rose, it could work out in a perverse way of like him realizing like, oh shit, I need good PR. Like, this is the worst PR that I've ever gotten in my entire career. I might need to like rush this record out to kind of make up for like what happened at Coachella. But again, Frank is also someone who doesn't care about that shit.
Gaff I make in the draft is like last month I had a first round pick because we do like trades and redrafting, and like somebody the month before had dropped Joanna Newsom, and then Joanna Newsom announced the album. It's just like I forgot to redraft Joanna Newsom.
Damn.
I was just like, I did it to myself. I am now my only hope is that I bet on J. Paul.
Honestly, J. Paul would not be a bad at this point. Not a bad bet to place. It's not a bad bet to place.
Listen, that one new song he did was like so good. Again, like I have utmost faith in that man because he's just a magician.
He's incredible. I was re-listening to the leaked record after that performance, and like which by the way, yeah, fuck it. It's this podcast. No one listens. No one important listens to this. If you can find the original version of the leak, find the original version of the leak.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only version I listen to.
Yeah, with all the uncleared samples, like you need the fucking Cat Stevens Yusef vocals on Guard to Paradise, whatever that track is called. Like
you need all the stupid Harry Potter noises.
You need Harry Potter shit. You need all the wacky shit that's on that record that they could not clear for the Spotify release. Anyways,
J. Paul,
Wednesday,
one of the brethrens, we love him.
Anyways, Wednesday, Rat Saw God.
Yeah, I can't, like, it's so funny that like we're talking about this record that's all about anecdotals, and I just can't stop getting into anecdotals.
This record is full of anecdotals, which
my one of my friends described it as like Carly's Arrowhead forum posting. Which is just like, yeah, that's a very funny way to put it, and you're kind of right in a spiritual sense. It's a really great record about being an absolute dirtbag kid from the South and like doing a lot of things that you kind of regret. Which, like,
Yeah.
let me tell you, as a lifelong resident of the Carolinas, I sure have experience with that.
It's very we were before we started recording, we were talking about the new John Mulaney special, Baby J, and there's great bits in Baby J about being just like an absolute menace when you were a teenager, like even more than most teenagers, because like, you know, he had already become addicted to alcohol and drugs by the time like he was like in the middle of high school. And
yeah, like he was 13 when he had an alcohol problem. Like
exactly.
Legit, just
and also, you know, like with this record, so Wynn's record, I think it's great. I think it's one of the best records of the year. I was someone that was I liked Twin Plagues, you know, like you put me on the Twin Plagues and I liked it. I didn't love it as much as you did, but I liked it. There's some great songs on there. Obviously, me jumping on the sort of the Wednesday extended universe boat was MJ Linderman's record last year.
Everyone, MJ Linderman is an easy guy to love. Like that's the thing. It's like his whole deal is just so approachable. Like I think a lot about that Carly quote where she's like, "Yeah, after the shows, like there's this little gaggle of like dudes with beards who like show up and like crowd around him," and I'm just like, "Yeah."
And it also, on top of that, also being like, but there's always like one or two girls that like have a crush on him and want to talk to him.
Yeah,
and, like
that's so good. It's just like, yeah, this is the kind of guy he is. It's just like a very approachable and entertaining character, and that's I get why everyone like more immediately gravitated to his whole shtick. And like I'm glad it like, you know, by proxy got everyone on board with this band because let me tell you, I voted in our little polls. I voted Twin Plagues as my number one of the year that year, and I very much stand behind that pick. Still, I still think like that is a very solid slab of rock music. I think this band has been on a run that is like just, you know, like I think they will clear the 5 album test in a span of time that like few other groups can. If we're counting, if we're counting the covers record, they're already up to 4. So like,
yeah. I think you can count the covers record at this point. I mean, again, I think like you can count it, and then if the sixth album is great, then like, okay, yeah, no, they clear the goddamn board. This is a side tangent about 2021 that I want to briefly get into. I know we should talk about this record, but
no, tangentials are good. I love tangentials.
I was gonna say 2021. Well, I actually have two things. One, I should probably say, hey, welcome to FYC. By the way, FYC Wednesday Rats All God. Sorry that we took like 6 months off from this series. Of course, we got busy with year-end stuff. You know, we were kind of making sure we got our coverage together for that, making sure we had our Album of the Year pods, and kind of getting ready for that. We could have probably done a Wise Blood episode, but again, we couldn't commit to it, whatever. And then, of course, I expected that we would get back into it sometime by like the end of January, maybe like early February.
I mean, let's be honest. Like this year did not really have any early year marquee records.
No, there's been obviously there's still good stuff this year.
Yeah, no, there's
the good
plenty
stuff
of good
not
stuff.
As good
it's just like not like big names. None of the big names came out. Like last year, it was like everybody's dropping in February. Wow, it's the weekend. Wow, and now it's just like, oh yeah, there's some pretty good ones. Like you got to go to like the small names. Like I really like that Livy record, the new Fucked Up. What else has been on my list? Those Gex, of course. That's like the first real marquee record of the year that like everyone actually wanted to talk about.
Which we might get back to Gex at some point on this series. We might end up being the next one. I feel like that's one
we could inevitably get to. Though honestly, at this point, I'd rather not tune in and just instead send you like waveform files of like cartoon sound effects from Ed, Edd and Eddy. Even though that show's been off the air for some time now.
Yeah. But yeah, this year has just not been a strong year. Like even the stuff that like I said, I'm looking at like my Album of the Year chart right now, and there's like 14 records here, and like it's not a very strong list. I will admit, even the stuff that I would say are big Matty core stuff. Again, some are not out yet, so I will not get into it just yet. But even some stuff from my bands I really love, it's not their strongest material. It's some really good shit, but
I'm at like 48 right now.
I've been so behind this year too. Like I just have not been like catching up with stuff. Like I've just been like, I think because I went so hard last year. Like last year I went so hard. Like I think my 2022 like, you know, just like general playlist where I'm just like, whatever songs I think are good this year, I threw it in, just throw it in this playlist. I think it was like 600 songs, and like getting that cut down to like 100 for like a definitive playlist was really fucking tough.
Yeah, last year was just for me. It was just an absolutely miserable time of music. It's just like, yeah, this is not a good year for me specifically, but like this year has just been so like, just so deep in my stupid bag. Like right now, like my tin is already looking pretty good, and it's still like barely filled out. You know, I got the new Young Fathers, that Hers Collective, that MS Paint, that Black Belt Eagle Scout, that Nandi, that Livy,
I think Nami
Redacted
was
Rec.
last year.
No, Nandi Flood City, not Namdi, Nandi.
Oh, my bad, my
Flood
bad,
City Tracks, baby. Good record. This is for all those bleep heads out there.
my bad.
Livy.
Oh, sorry.
And then
go ahead.
Redacted record that I will not name, and then Wednesday at the top.
Yeah, I think that's what my list is. Again, the Inattended On It album that came out in like February. That's my album of the year so far. I think it's a great
Listen,
record.
I know everyone's probably mad at us about the tangentials, but I want you all to know I want this to be an FYC episode with the energy of a late night.
Exactly. Like this is again. This is a chilled episode. Because again, also because on top of this, we didn't do a Q1 episode because again, I think this year has just been like, it's just been really weak.
It's
just
not,
been weak.
not even weak, just sleepy. Like again, like
Sleepy.
it's hard to talk about a bunch of records if there's not like a few big ones to hook everyone in. Because like if you just go like, yeah, we're just talking about a bunch of stuff we like, guys, and it's just like, do you have anything interesting to talk about? No, we have the Algiers. That's it. We have Paramore. Like, and those are good records. The Paramore record is a good record. The Boy Genius record is a good record. The Algiers record, a good record. But it's just like so hard to talk about that stuff because it's just like the most interesting things about Boy Genius are not even the music. Like everyone's like, why do they keep talking about female friendships as if it's a novel thing? It's just like because they made like 10 like pretty standard indie folk rock songs. What more do you want to talk about?
Yeah. And as I've joked about before, if you want new music discussion, go to Endless Scroll. Like that's the pod for you. We're doing our silly shit, but this is new music discussion.
I'm not even referring to us. I'm referring to the dreaded straw man of quote other critics. You know, like just like people complain about like Boy Genius coverage, not talking about the music. It's like, what do you want people to talk about with the music?
Exactly. Like it's standard indie folk.
It's good folk rock songs. There is nothing novel here to cover.
Exactly. But
other than like Julian Baker finally learning how to like rip on guitar tunes, which like, hey, that's pretty cool.
That's a development.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. And again, there's some records that I cannot discuss yet because they're not out yet. But stuff to be on again.
I have exactly one that has that issue.
I will be able to speak more freely by the end of next month when those records are out. There's two in particular I'm very excited about.
I cannot name the record, but I will just say shout outs to my guitar teacher who I cannot even professionally review this album now because like the day after I got a hold of this record, I started taking guitar lessons with her.
Yeah. Anyways,
which is just very funny timing.
Anyways, I promised a second tangent, and that was to talk about 2021. I think 2021 is a year that I look back in retrospect. I'm like, wow, this was a really stacked year for music. There was a lot of really great stuff.
I think 2021 is like really good. Like even if we're just talking like my like top few, let me pull up my 2020s as a whole chart because that really tells me everything I need to know.
I need to get on that soon. I need to
like 2021. Twin Plagues, I Became Birds, what was the other one? There was a third one I'm forgetting. It's like Ultra Pop. Yeah, Ultra Pop. Oh my god. It was By the Time I Get to Phoenix, was that year?
Yes, I believe.
Yes. Haram, I'm like 70% sure that was that year.
Yeah, that was 2021 because the Billy Woods 2 records that was last year.
Christfucker was that year. Course and Fable or Sinner Get Ready. Oh my god. Just Mirrors by Pupil Slicer. Like again, just I keep going down the list. I'm just like good year.
Yeah, I pulled up my chart and it's just like, man, like there's records here that I would move up. Like because that was my point of discussion where it's like my album of the year. I think whenever I put my ballots in for the podcast, my album of the year was the Spirit of the Beehive record. That's a record now that I would not I don't even know if I put that in my top 5 now at this point.
Like, I didn't even mention the Billie Eilish record, and like that, like, come on, man, that's just best pop record of the decade right there. Like, it's a ridiculous year that we had there, and just like the fact that above all that, rising above the foam for me, the cream of the crop was like a throwback shoegaze record, you know, a genre that I didn't even like at the time. I was just like, yeah, this is just so good that I have to hand it to him. And like, I was just so intrigued, you know, a band from Asheville making music that finds the in-between of a genre I don't like, shoegaze, and a genre I have little to no experience at the time with, country music. It's like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever, I guess this is worth it. And so, you know, I just kind of got behind them as my guys, and then gradually their stocks rose, and I was just like, well, I guess they're gonna make a good one, aren't they?
Yep, and their stocks have rose to this point. I mean, like I said, I mean, like, it's funny to think that the position this band was in last year, to like around this time of, it's right after South by Southwest, and there's a whole fucking discourse, which
they don't want to talk about anymore for good reason. I get it. I'd be tired of it too.
I mean, I'll make an enemy on this podcast if he's listening. Joe Dummy, you're a dummy. Fuck off.
I just hate everyone involved in that discourse. Just enough of all of you.
Exactly. But of course, like, and now it's like, here we are in, you know, end of April. This band, they signed to Dead Oceans, which I would say right now is like the indie label. I feel like that position changes, but I feel like Dead Oceans right now is like the tastemaker indie label of, like, you have Mitski, Phoebe Bridgers, although Phoebe Bridgers now no longer on Dead Oceans, but still, you know, like,
I mean, like again, Dead Oceans is like the only seemingly operating prestige indie label at this point. Like, everyone else seems to have just given up.
Exactly. It's like, if your album is coming on Dead Oceans, very strong guarantee, like, you're gonna get like a ton of coverage, and it's like, it's probably like a great record. They've got a couple random artists here and there that like haven't really taken off, but like,
I mean, let's just look at the Dead Oceans roster. I just out of curiosity, like, again, those tangentials, baby. Let's see, Bright Eyes, Kerrang! Band, and Leon Bridges, like, they get big festival placements, so I get that one. Finna Lily, Better Oblivion Community Center. Aaron Frazier, don't know who that is. Toro
he's in Duran Jones. He's in Duran Jones.
Oh, okay, yeah, and the Indications. Duran Jones, later on listed. Let's see, Phoebe Bridgers, Bill Fay, Japanese Breakfast, Duran Jones, and the Indications. They get a separate listing. Mitski, Kevin Morby, Shame, Slow Dive, and Marlon Williams. Oh, wow, that's a crazy roster. And Slow
Tori
Dive.
Moa.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned Tori Moa. Tori Moa, too.
Yeah, I mentioned Tori Moa very early on. He's like way earlier in the roster.
Is Phoebe, okay, I was gonna say Phoebe. I think Phoebe's still listed, but I again, she's on Interscope now. Like, I think the Boy Genius record is like the first record on her contract with Interscope, if I had to guess.
We'll see what comes of that. I think that's going to be a very interesting path to track.
Yes, but anyways, so yeah, them getting signed to Dead Oceans last year was
I was just
crazy.
Like I was just like, I cashed in. Also, like, another tangent. I can't believe MJ Linderman hasn't signed anywhere yet. Like,
I think it's not going to be announced until he puts out his next record. I don't think.
I have to assume like it's probably in the books, but just like at the same time, just like, man, you guys haven't announced anything, huh?
Yeah,
like, like he's making waves everywhere else.
I mean, I think we have a little, you know, we know there. I mean, like I said, I think anyone could guess there was probably a bidding war, but like if you want your music industry tea, there was a bidding war. I'm not sure who won the bidding war.
I don't know who won the bidding war at all, and I don't want to find out until later. But like, it's still just gonna be it's gonna be really funny when we like get to see the PR cycle for that one just go absolutely insane. Yeah. Especially after he guested on the latest Waxahachie record, which, like, I'm excited to hear what comes of that because oh buddy,
I'm curious with. I feel like there's a different band. I can't think of the band, but there's definitely going to be a different band out there that's similar to Wednesday, where it's like, of course, like the band and, you know, Carly, and then they also have like a songwriter that has like their own solo material that's also like just as, if not, you know, more popular than the band they're also in. I'm not sure why I can't think of this band, because I know that there's definitely.
Can you give me like a genre rundown? That might help me.
I mean, it's definitely an indie. It's definitely something indie rock. I can't think of it. I don't know why.
What is their deal? I need some.
That's the
Give
thing
me
is that like
something.
I again I have a vague awareness being like, okay, there's definitely like a band out there where there's these like kind of dueling songwriters, but they sort of are more of a bit player. Anyways, that I can
Yeah, if you remember, just tell me
I
and
gotta
I'll like.
develop that thought a little more.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
get into the tangentials.
we should probably talk about Rat Saul God, the record, because it's great.
Yeah, it's only been how many minutes? 23 minutes. Great job, us. I
Good
see
job.
again the FYC episode with the energy of a late night episode. I'm doing a great job at that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I wrote a piece about this, very personal, sentimental angle because I figured I wanted to get that out of me. But we can talk technicals now. I mean, like, just as someone who like has so thoroughly lived and breathed a lot of the like experiences, not like identical to the ones recounted on this record, but like similar. I'm just like, yeah, this was gonna be like my favorite no matter what. But like just the fact that they so expertly knocked it out of the park with the songwriting is like genuinely impressive, like in a way to me, because just they do so many things with their sound here that I'm just kind of impressed. Because like Twin Plagues is a very good record, but I don't feel like it has much range as this one. Like because everyone's
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, country gaze, that is a genre that exists. But like the problem is I don't think the bounds of country gaze were really meaningfully defined in a way, like outside of like, oh yeah, here's how can you live if you can't love. Like that's our big country ballad on this record, and then here's some like straightforward shoegaze numbers. Here's someone in between, but it's just like you don't really get the full range of it. This record, you get like all of it. Like there's songs here that sound like the closer on this sounds like a stroke song. I can't get over that. Just like there's just like, yeah, we made a stroke song and it's
Hold up,
good.
let me re-listen to that song again. Are you talking about is that TV and the Gas
TV and the
Pump?
Gas Pump. It sounds like a stroke song.
Hold up, let me do some let me research this one. Yeah, we're throw it on. I'm gonna throw it on real quick, listeners. Okay, yeah, that's definitely like a Strokes kind of melody. Yeah, you're right there.
And the guitar,
That's
just
on
the
the money.
guitar tone too. It's like a just slightly noisier strokes. I'm so fascinated by that choice of like just getting into the structure of this record. Like making that the closer is such a choice, and I kind of love it. Like again, like everything they did with this record is just like full of choices, and that's why I kind of engage with it so heavily. Like because it's just like, oh, this is a weird thing to do for your big breakout. Like, oh yeah, so our lead two singles for this are 8.5 minutes and 5.5 minutes. The two longest songs on the record by like a country mile are our lead singles.
Hmm.
And
It's
just like,
it's a very similar rollout, which I maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree, to like Teens of Denial, where that the lead single for Teens of Denial was Vincent. Like
oh
the,
yeah, that was,
not
but
the
like Fill
longest
in the
song on the
Blank was
record,
like
but a
an
pretty
almost
bold.
immediate follow up. They were like, okay guys, we got a normal one in here.
Yeah. Um,
And
again,
like,
but this record definitely like in short, we'll get into the nitty gritty, the details. This one, like, okay, like yeah, Wednesday. This is a
it's
great
the
band.
next funeral.
Oh my god, don't even.
I'm sorry to bring that joke back.
PTSD. That gives me some fucking PTSD, dude. Oh
I'm sorry
god.
to bring like 2015 joke back.
Oh my god. Just you sit me way back again. I literally discovered the lost rap song that I did after No Crush today, and that it's not as bad
There's
PTSD as
another
that.
one.
Yeah, there was another one. Which if you want
Oh
to
my
listen to that song,
god.
join our Discord because it's there now. I'm not going to post it on Twitter or anywhere
Oh my
else. If you want to
god.
listen to it, you better pay me some fucking money. Um.
Oh my god.
Anyways, yeah. So yeah, Bull Believer, the first single. We're gonna go free. This is already a very free form fucking episode, so we're just gonna keep rolling with it. I keep seeing people are starting to talk shit on Bull Believer now, and I
I don't
really
get it. I
I don't
really
get
don't
it.
get it. Like somebody like Max, I get. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I get why you don't like this. Is just opposed to every aesthetic interest you could have, like theologically
Max
speaking.
has like baby ears. He can't handle when something is too loud
No,
unless
no, I
it's
get it.
like
Listen, I
Flowride
get
or
it. It's
Pitbull.
not a baby ears thing. It's just like some people have
I'm
different
just kidding, Max.
palates,
I love
and
you,
I
buddy.
I respect that. I respect that, and I'm not gonna talk shit. But like, I don't get people who are like suddenly turning on this song, even though like I think the one choice this record makes, putting the second song on the album, is like a genuine disrespect to it, which is why like I
It's It's a case where it's like I understand why they put it there. I would not have put it there, but it makes sense, but it maybe would have made more sense somewhere, like a little more sense, like at
So
the
let
end.
me briefly get into my choice I made. So like after a few weeks of listening to this record on the advance, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna resequence this myself to like do it to the way I would want it. So I did Hot Rotten Grass Smell, then Got Shocked as the second track because that should like that is your handsome man right there. That is a song that should have been like a lead single in my opinion. It's just like so it's them at their grungiest in a way, which I really like. Like it's just this very direct little tune which just hits hard on the chords and like perfectly, just like I love every detail about it. It's like a very classical Wednesday song in a way that I just enjoy. It hits the neurons in my brain, right? It's my favorite song they've ever written. And like it's so funny that that song has apparently a ContraPoints quote in it. I've never watched the video that it's quoting from, but apparently it does. Yeah, yeah, just good tune. I just love hearing it. Like every time it hits that chorus, and it goes that like that ba-da, ba-da. Like it's just, like it taps into that '90s alternative vibe energy that like it's so perfectly, it's just good. Good. I don't know how to talk about this record without just entering a phase where I'm just like they just wrote the songs good, they just wrote the songs good because they did. They really
Yeah.
did. And I just like yeah, just yeah, so Hot Rotten Grass Smell, then God Shocked, then Bath County is the third track. I know
Mm.
that's probably an odd one. Then Formula One, because like I tried to do like, God Shocked, then Formula One, but I'm just like Formula One, three songs in, way too early. Like if you slot Bath County in there, it's like just perfect. And
Hmm.
then it goes normal, Chosen Deserve, Quarry, then after that, Turkey Vultures, What's So Funny, then Bull Believer, then TV and the Gas Pump. Like that to me is like the sequence for this record that I think works. Because Bull Believer just as a penultimate track is just like really good because you get the wind down after, but like What's So Funny, like I like the idea of like, you know, having that nothing is as vivid as the darkest times of my life, and then going to a song that's about like one of the darkest times in your life.
Yeah, if you get that, I assume you have the track list, your like updated track list in writing. If so, please send that my way because I definitely want to re-listen to the record like with that like sequencing in mind. Which I mean, to breathe, what's so funny like that, just to get to that's my favorite song on the record. Like
I
that's what,
it
but
is like
I want to briefly talk to Got Shocked and then kind of get into what's so funny. I guess like
yeah, go
I love that
ahead.
Got Shocked like it immediately pulls like a trick on you, being like, oh, this could be like, kind of more of like a slow core song, and then immediately was like, no, we're speeding up the pace. Like, no, we're this
Yeah, no, I
it's
love a
boring.
little like cartoon dash into the tempo that they do. It's just really well done.
It's
Like
very funny. What's not funny is the song "What's So Funny," which is one of my favorite songs of the year, and maybe my favorite song that Wednesday has ever put out. It is like a devastating track that I listened to on repeat the week this album came out because
oh
it
yeah.
was it's a song that all you can say is wow, that's real. Like that
Yeah,
is
no,
real as
it's
hell.
like so deeply just cut. Like it's her most cutting lyrics to just a degree where I'm just like, I can't believe you wrote this. Like it turns an incident where like she described it in an interview as like a really funny incident of like Zandy getting chased around by bees while wielding a chainsaw and like him having to drop the chainsaw and run away, and she was just laughing at him. Or or no, MJ was laughing at him. That's right, yeah. And then she just thought he was like incredibly funny, but just like juxtaposing with that, with like, oh yeah, I feel like garbage. I've never felt worse. It's just like, oh yeah, actually no, this is just spiritually devastating to me.
I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, this record just kind of just goes to prove like, okay, like Carly is one of our best lyricists working today in rock music of just like being able to paint
I like she was already there for me, but like even more so now. I'm just like, yeah, she did it.
because she's able to paint these like very vivid pictures that are like very, you know, they're very real, but they also leave just enough to the imagination where it's not just so like it doesn't have, I don't want to pit women against each other. It doesn't have the Phoebe Bridgers problem of like maybe being like too literal. It's literal songwriting, but it has just enough like, okay, pizzazz, creativity, where it's like, okay, you can kind of, twist this around your mind just enough where it's not so like straight, like so annoyingly straightforward in a way. It's like,
Yeah,
it knows when to pull the punches a little bit.
yeah, and like I really like that Stereo Gum review of this record. Like because specifically because they managed to do a citation that I was like waiting for somebody to pick up on, which is Flannery O'Connor. Like it reminds me so much of Flannery O'Connor's short storytelling because she is like a premier Southern writer, and she just has this way of like capturing the minutiae of here that I find just unbeatable. And like Carly especially taps into that in a way where I've seen so few writers, both like songwriters or even just story writers, doing, and it's just like so nice to see. Like she understands this is what makes like Southern writers good. She understands that this is what makes country music good, is like this ability to tap into like a specific detail in your mind and like transposing that memory into some greater sentiment that you want to carry. And like the way she's able to juxtapose that with like, she liberally quotes a lot of other songs, like the opening lines of Bath County are from a Rufus Wainwright song, like, the I Can Walk on Water, like she updates it to be I Can Walk on Water too. And like every son of God, and now it's every daughter of God has a little bad luck song. Like it's just constantly like she's slipping in these little references to her own like consumption of art and making it into her own. She's like, and it reminds me so much of like the other artistic form she does, which is like she makes a lot like, so there's this little store in Asheville. I'm gonna ramble about it. It's this little gay thrift store called Emote. It's really cool. If you're ever in town, I highly recommend you go there. Queer owned, queer operated place. A lot of like homemade fashion and art there. It's just so cool to go into. It's this tiny little storefront on like a really just big street. It's like it's in like I think people call it the Arts District. I don't know. I don't live there, so I can't tell you. But like it's just this really nice little corner of town that I like visiting every time I go to Asheville. There's like a good record store down there and a bunch of like, and like the good local DIY venue, Different World. But Emo is just like this really cool shop, and like Carly sometimes drops off clothes there, like, and her clothes are like these really interesting little shirts and other items. I've got one here that I'm gonna show on the camera for Matty, just like so he can see it. So yeah, this shirt right here, like it's like these little patchworks that like she sews just different pieces of clothing together into this greater canvas, and like it's like weird little things like here's a Casper the Friendly Ghost stitch on the bottom, and then here's like a piece of a sweater, and here's like a piece of like a metal band's t-shirt like for the sleeves. It's just like that's what I like about her work in general as an artist, is like she manages to combine all these little ideas that she takes from different places and just makes them into something that feels like it was always meant to be stitched together that way. And I think that is what works so well about her as a songwriter, like the idea, like everyone talks about it, but like Bull Believer is a song where you combine like, oh yeah, I listened to season 2 of Cocaine and Rhinestones, the country music podcast, which talks extensively about George Jones and bullfighting. And like I combined stories from that with lyrics from Richard Buckner's, I believe it's just called Believer, but I want to make sure, Believer. Yeah. Richard, but like she combines lyrics from a Richard Buckner song where he says "Believe me, believer," like with that, and like with references to Mortal Kombat and like all these little details that just like them if you see them. Like whenever somebody in a song like references like tiny little crosses on the roadside, it gets to me specifically because I see so many of those goddamn things out here that just makes me like immensely sad.
Yeah. Like obviously I'm from the Midwest, but I'm from like a southern part of the Midwest, Southwest Illinois, and I've passed through like the more southern parts of Illinois and other areas that are like technically the Midwest but are very southern in the way that their characteristics.
Yeah, it's the dynamics wise.
Exactly. So I get why maybe some people are maybe a little reticent to check this out because again, I think some people, of course, I think in terms of the indie music world, I think their openness to country has definitely become much more cognizant. Is that I'm not even sure if I'm using words
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
Well, I think it's less that and more just like I feel like we do not really. I feel like we do not really attribute a sense of place to Southern bands as often as we do with like like this is a hot new New York group or this is a new LA band. Like because in general, I think in the 21st century, like sense of place has really dissolved from music scenes in general. Like you don't really talk about scenes in that language anymore. Is like being a cultivator of sound of individual artists. And it's just like, yeah, they're from the internet. Like
Yeah,
that's how it is for everyone now. But Wednesday, like part of why they appeal so much is because like this is like a band that is so loudly and clearly Southern that it works in their favor because like they're able to harness, what is interesting about this place. Like, in the same way that like I would argue, in the same way that I would argue, like I said in my review, like every 10 years or so we get like a really good indie rock record from a band like this, and it's just like like every 10 years we get a band who's like just so loudly and distinctly Southern that I think they kind of use that evocation of place in a way to really work their advantage. Like of the 2010s, I would say the defining band of that was Deer Hunter. Like everyone was just like, yeah, Deer Hunter, they're a really good Athens, Georgia band because they like made very Southern weirdo indie rock influenced by like Stereolab, but also like REM. And then like, you could go back to like say the Elephant Six Collective. Like that's a distinctly Southern movement of people just like weirdos from arts weirdos from Georgia who made like really rickety, ramshackle little tunes. It's just like so like I feel like movements from here are so under-recognized as being like distinctly of here more than anything, and that's why I'm like very happy to see this band just like loudly embrace it.
exactly. And I think they're also a band that's been smart enough to kind of also pull fervor with more East Coast scenes. Obviously, the Tagabo connection and sort of their connection to sort of the greater
No, they're like
shoegaze
like
scene.
the thing is like Carly's like a big fanatic of like a lot of that small time Philly indie rock. Like I think a lot of the bands that are opening for them are from Philly. Like I'd have to check for sure, but I know I'm pretty sure Tinchi is at least, and I think Cryo Geyser is as well. And like just all these like regional little indie rock names. Like she clearly has a familiarity with the little guys. Like I'm really excited to see Lomelda open for them. That's just like a name that was just like, oh, that's an interesting
great.
pool. Like
on like just like on a date or like.
So their final show of the tour in Asheville is like just they got Lomelda to do a one-off with them.
Damn. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, that's really cool.
I was gonna say, I mean, going to Lomelda, I feel like Carly is my favorite lyricist in indie rock since Lomelda, really, of being able to kind of have that like personal devastation, but leave just enough of it to the imagination and taking out, like just enough like it's like you have this full written essay, right? This full written essay of your life stories, but sort of finding and replacing some of the elements of being like less first persony or just like literally just shredding it and kind of piecing it back together. Like you shred a document and you try to piece it back together with like tape or glue. It's like you're gonna get most of it, but there's still certain missing elements that are not gonna be quite there. And there's that mystery of it all is like, okay, like I can put my own perspective in there. Like that is why, like, I think this sort of I get this wave of singer songwriter music in the late 2010s, early 2020s has been, there's so many mixed reactions. Because I think just like if a songwriter's like sometimes if they're just a little too straightforward, a little too literal, it's like it's just not gonna. Like for some people it's going to click really hard, and for others it's just like I need a little less but a little more.
I need my poetics, Jerry. I need my poetics.
Yeah, but I will it's poetic, but it's not. It is. What I also love about Wednesday, there's nothing
frou-frou about it. Nothing frou-frou. Less pretentious than just frou-frou. You look at it, you're just like, well, this doesn't feel like this doesn't feel like they're deploying $10 words for the sake of them.
Exactly. So again,
It's just
Ugh.
like a well-written, like autobiography, and that's what I like about this stuff. It's just like, like she can zoom in on these little stories. Like Quarry is like, it's like 33% like characters from the book Cruddy, I believe, and then 33% stories about her dad and uncle, like her dad burning down a cornfield with bottle rockets, and then like her uncle getting the preacher's kid pregnant, and then her just moving away, and like him still bragging about that apparently.
Yeah.
And then just like finally just being like, oh yeah, we just kind of like, and then the third anecdote in the song being about like her neighbor across the street getting arrested. It's just like, yeah, these are all just things that can happen.
Hmm.
It's just so that just the plaintive delivery of it is just part of the appeal, I think, and that's just what's so exciting to me. And just like even beyond that, like the arrangement's so good.
Yeah, the
Like
arrangements here are great. Like
Corey, I just talked about Corey. Like Corey, just to me, like everyone's comparing that one to the Kinks' Waterloo Sunset, and like I kind of hear it, but also I don't. Like, but it's just I really love the chorus on that one in particular. Like something about that, like the kind of little leaps it does, like the we had to add it to the tab to die. Like so something about the way it undercuts itself at every turn. We had to settle up.
Yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, just in general, this is a band that really is just sort of like firing on all cylinders. I think obviously Carly is like always been a really solid songwriter, but I feel like on this record, like she just has such a confidence about her abilities as a songwriter and as a band leader that really pay
Yeah,
off in big
I think the
ways.
band as a whole has leveled up in such a way because let me tell you, I recently bought a CD copy of Rats All God because I never got around to buying a cassette copy of all their albums like I meant to. And then I was sitting in a store one day just buying used CDs. I bought a Graham Parsons GP and Grievous Angel on a 2-for-1 CD. That was a pretty good deal. I also bought a used copy of REM's Monster for $5. You should not do that, by the way. You should buy it for $1 on Discogs because like there's so many copies of that album for $1 on Discogs. But I was just like, I was in the store, I was like, I kind of want to buy Monster. And then thirdly, I bought Rats All God, and it came with this demo CD. Like, it features 5 little demos on there, and I was so curious about them. And like, the translation, like the demos that Carly makes are like just nearly there, but like so much you realize like after listening to these primitive versions of these songs, like she understands structure better than like nearly anyone in the game right now. Like structure is so much her thing that like even with the rough cuts of the words aren't quite there, like like the primitive form of this song, Quarry in particular, like it's got these little syllabic things where you're just like, yeah, I can see why she switched this up, and like just little choices here and there, but like the core of the song is so there already that like you're just like, yes, of course, this makes sense, like it works. But like when you hear it with the full band flourishes, it's just like miles better. And I think that's like so much of the appeal of this band to me is like they understand as a unit like what their individual roles can be, and like very specifically, like they are a textural band more than anything. They understand like the textures of shoegaze and country, and like how to combine those two into something that does something interesting. And like, especially like, I pedal steel. That is an instrument I love dearly. I think more bands should find a way to incorporate pedal steel into their music because it is just a really cool instrument. And like this record especially proves that like there's so much ground you can cover with it, like even just in like overdriven pedal steel. like it just gets it all in there. Just it's got everything.
Yeah, like Zandy. Yeah, I think like I mean, getting into it, sort of Zandy again just seems like
Zandy is MVP status on this record. Truly, just like great sounds.
I worry about his back with all the slouching you have to do with the pedal steel, but for the time being, hey, he's able to he's using it in such like a way that nobody else really is using it.
Exactly, like that's the thing is like there are other bands using pedal steel right now. Like there is a record I'm listening to lately that is new that has like very straightforward pedal steel performances on it, but like this is taking it to just like such new interesting directions of execution. Like even just in the thing of like, oh yeah, we put pedals on it to just do like weirder sounds with it, like, and yet somehow going back to Bull Believer, like the way they make it sound like just ghosts, like they managed to make like that like it's so like they get these just unearthly sounds out of an instrument that I think are just so different from anything any other band has been able to make, just because of this one key elements to them, and that is what defines them in a way. It's just texture.
Yeah. Also, I think with this record too, like I mean, Twin Plagues, MJ is on that record, but he only had like just joined the band, and here it really feels like he's much more comfortable in his role as like, okay, like I can, having his own skills as a guitar player and being able to really incorporate those very well, and basically knowing when to step in and knowing when to kind of back away and kind of let Zandy take over or Carly take over, or like knowing exactly what kind of role to play within the songs.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is like I think they played as a unit before, but I don't think they really like had as much interplay per se, which is I think the big dynamic difference here is like them being able to counter off of each other as well, because like as MJ has wrote songs before like for the band, like I know he contributed to Coyote on the first album, I'm trying to describe to someone, and then Zandy wrote One More Last One on the last record. Like that was entirely written by him. I was just like, oh wow, that's crazy. And like just, but like you couldn't really tell, you couldn't pick apart like the places where like individual contributions came in. You're just like, this is a big wall of sound. But like here, you're like, I can hear the individual parts and ideas that are going into it. Like you can hear the dynamics of the drumming. You can really hear the pedal steel bits. You can hear MJ's little guitar. You can hear like the ways that they managed to get group vocals done in well. Like speaking of like Formula One, oh my god. The first time I heard this record, I was just like, that's a song I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for like a Carly MJ duo for a while, since like, because like the MJ Carly crossover records that they have from the older days, like from like 2018 and I can't remember when the other one was, Guttering. Let's see, what year was that? I believe it was like, yeah, it was 2021, but still, like, you don't get like MJ Carly crossovers that on a regular Wednesday record. They've always been relegated to like the duo albums, and just like hearing it on a mainline record, like done in such a genuinely beautiful little like classic country duet, is so thrilling to me. It's just like, especially a song that's like getting into the like, again, like all about the minutia, like making reference to this big there's this big fucking bridge in have you heard of the Can Opener in Durham, North Carolina?
Is it like a venue or a bar, or what is it?
It's a bridge.
Oh, no idea.
It is so let me link it to you in our Discord chat. It has its own website. It's called 11foot8.com. Because this bridge, like, just click on any one of the videos.
Oh, yeah. I know
this bridge.
Yeah. It's the one where it's so small and cars just speed through it because they don't realize. Yeah,
yes. And she makes reference to it in like a triple entendre on this record of like, truck was too tall for the overpass, got the top peeled off, couldn't see it happen. And then immediately, I just saw the aftermath. And then immediately after that, she goes, rusty old can opener in the drawer. Like, I'm just like, I see what you did there. Like,
oh my god,
it's like so tapped into this like specific brain set where I'm just like, I love it. I like the bird flies into the window every day at exactly the same time. That anecdote made me like kind of cry a little, because like I had a really similar incident a month ago or so where like I was sitting in a fucking Panera Bread with my boss, like, because like, I had to do some fucking team building exercise, and then we're just sitting there, like four of us at the table, and then all of a sudden we hear a big thunk on the window, and like a bird is just like twitching on the ground outside. My boss, she steps up, she walks outside, and she like sits there outside on the curb, just nursing the bird back to health, like just making sure it is okay and not like dead and just concussed. And then eventually, like, I go step outside to go check on it because it's just been sitting there for a while, and I just walk up to the bird, and then it flies away, and I never see it again. I'm just like, that's beautiful. beautiful. Just something about that. Just something tapped very directly into the brainworms I was having at that moment, like a few weeks earlier. And then I heard that song, I was just like, oh, you're killing me here. Like, it's just all these anecdotes are like so specifically designed to choke me up because I've had too many experiences like them.
God
And it's
damn.
just it's so good. Chosen to Deserve, like immediately after that, it's just another great inspired bit of sequencing is putting Formula One after Chosen to Deserve. It's like, oh yeah, here's the MJ Carly song, and then here's the song where Carly's just talking to MJ and just being like, yeah, I was a real piece of shit. You better get used to it, buddy. It's so good.
Yeah, like we briefly kind of touched on "Chosen to Deserve." I really do that's a great love song. Like it's a great love song. Like I can't believe like that you're it feels like in a Carly's response to "You Are Every Girl to Me." Whereas your Every Girl is very like simplistic and sort of like it's very
like it's like that Grace. It's that tweet from Grace a few moments ago where she's like, "I really love how MJ and Carly keep writing love songs to each other, but they're all talking about piss and jackass." I'm just like, yeah, like she's so right about that.
That's true fucking love right there. Like
yeah, that to me is like the perfect kind of relationship is like being able to love someone in a way where you can be like where you can make very earnest statements to them, but they can come off in an unserious manner where like but both of you still understand the intention behind it. It's just like that to me is beautiful, and that's part of what I love about the song is like the format she chose to write the song in. Is like she wrote it like a big like 90s early aughts like bar country jam. Like I was listening to 105.5 The Outlaw, Asheville's #1 country station, playing only classic country. Like I was listening to it a few months ago, like when I was driving around there, because like every few months, like every time I go in there now, I turn on 105.5 because I just want to listen to like dumb country songs so I can like get more records on there. And Kenny Chesney's "She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy,"
which we talked about which we talked about in the recent bonus episode that we did on Grant's childhood country playlist, which was
it's an incredible song. Like I really love that. I think all those like I have a genuine love for like all the like trashy aughts late 90s radio bar country. Like I think they hit a specific zone of texture with that's just like unbeatable. And I think Wednesday make their approximation of that so good. Like it's just like it's a much harder hitting version of that, and it works to its benefit greatly.
Exactly. Just
beautiful stuff. I think we really just can't get much better than that, really.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing of this band is that like this is already a great record, but there's still so much more upside with this record, like with this band of just being like, this feels like a band that just is going to keep getting better and better the more kind of comfortable they get, like just operating as a unit. And I think there's certainly points of, I would say, let's be real and be like, there's definitely some points of concern potentially of just sort of like recently their bassist Margot left the band between like after this album was finished but before it came out. But it seems like, again, left on good terms. It seems like a case of just being like, hey, when you become a touring band, shit changes. Like shit changes. But the album art also, but again, she did the album art, Margot did, and it's fantastic album art. Like it's probably the best album art of the entire year.
There's literally like 3 different people involved. There's one person who did the photograph of them that inspired the painting. Then I believe Margot did the painting. Then another person took the photo of it outside in the dirt. That's something I really love about this album cover in particular is like it does a similar thing to Lamb Chops the Bible, a record from last year, where it takes an existing piece of like artwork and then it photographs it in this very uncanny environment so that like evokes the sound of the record. Like I highly recommend looking up Lamb Chops the Bible album cover, or just to get a reference for that, because like it's so funny to like contrast the two approaches to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like, and this one does it in such a way where I'm like they get it. They get what this record is going for, like putting in like this like clearly like dark forested, like a high fantasy painting in like a weird swampy mess of an area. It's just it gets it. It understands what the record is trying to be, and I'm and it continues their streak of just really good album art. They have not stopped making good album art. Like shout out to Dancing Fevers, the artist who did Mowing the Leaves instead of piling up. I need them to fucking come down to Asheville for a month so I can get a tattoo from them, because I really want to get a tattoo from them because their art is cool as shit. Mm-hmm. And then just like, you look at the other ones, it's like Twin Plagues. Twin Plagues is just like another like iconic album cover image right there. Like you can't really get much better than that.
I mean, yeah, like it is really rare these days to see a band that like is firing on all cylinders, like songwriting, the live shows, the artwork, like just a band that just
aesthetics. They get the aesthetics, but it feels effortless. It's a Gesamtkunstwerk work of indie rock, which is very important.
and I think the important thing too is that it all feels like effortless too at the same time, where it's like it's clear this band thinks very heavily about their aesthetics, but not in such a way where it comes off as like pretentious or like overwrought. It's just like it feels like just naturally them. And that's rare.
Yes, exactly. Like there's never been a point where I'm like, they seem to be stepping out of their zone in a way that's like a little weird and uncanny. It's just like, and like I think part of that is just like Carly is a really good tastemaker in a sense. Like their idea of an album release celebration was like hosting a fucking vending fair in New York, where just like it was just a bunch of artists and like designers on Instagram that Carly liked, and she just brought them all together to like sell their wares. Like that's cool as shit to me. It's just like, Dancing Fevers art was there. Like there were like several tattoo people. There was a bunch of homemade fashion designers. That's so conceptually neat to me. It's just like, and like so much of the appeal of this is just like she understands the things that she wants to bring together. Like I talked earlier about the like patchwork nature of this. It's like it's in the sound, it's in the visuals. It's like she pays tribute to stuff that she wants to, like the Bath County video is like her doing a sort of recreation of PJ Harvey's music video for Man Size. Like things like that. It's just like subtle nods to like stuff she thinks is cool shit. It's like done in such a way where like if you get it, you get it. But like if you don't, it's like, this is cool anyway. Like they're able to borrow the gravitas of that. And I really like that. I like bands who can, like even if they don't, like they still necessarily have their own appeal to them beyond just like referentiality, but like they can take gravitas from that which they deem to be interesting and make it into their own. And like moving on like to the last song we have yet to discuss on this record, other than Hot Rotten Grass Smell, which like I really have nothing to say about. It's like a nice little feint of an opener. Like that one is like fine. It's a perfectly serviceable opener song. It's like what you need to put at the front of the record, but like at the same time, just like I have nothing to say about this. It's got a cool, like really weird time signature meter, I'm just like, that's neat. But last song that I want to discuss on the record, and probably the best one to end on, because whoo boy. I don't know if you know this, but Turkey Vultures, what a tune. Just, oh my God. Like she described this in a really, really early press release as like their attempt to make Velvet Underground's heroin. And I think they very much got their own take on that. Like, this is a ridiculous song. Oh my God.
It's one of the, I mean, it's not obviously not the longest on the record, but I think like, lyrically, like, it definitely feels like the most ambitious of being like, I'm really trying to paint like a strong picture here of what I have in mind.
That's something I want to get into is like, actually, so on the demo CD, this song is like a minute and a half longer. There's like whole verses that she cut out. Like,
really?
That like after the I don't count stars, I count the dark bit, there's like a whole extra section that's like completely cut out of the song. And like, it's really good too. I'm like shocked she cut it out. I'll have to send the demo in the chat sometime because I'm just like I was like so shocked by it. Like I was sitting in my car driving home one night after like a really shitty evening, and just like I put on the demo CD because I was just like I want to hear this, and like the demo CD is just 5 songs. It's like 2 takes on Bull Believer, like one that's half the song, one that's the full song. One song called Christian Brothers Cover. I don't know if it's cover or if it's just a song called Christian Brothers Cover. Then Quarry, and then Turkey Vultures demo, and like it's just like it's this like even its primitive form, it's just this amazingly structurally ambitious song that like oh my god, every lyric hits me just like a punch in the face, like even just the opening quartet of like turkey vultures gather in the yard with the faces blank as a shovel. They're fired up about Jesus. They're tired out of all the nature. Like, you know, it's already just like the scene setting of like shit is going down. And then like maybe the best description of dysphoria I've ever seen by a cis person. I wrap the heavy gauze around me. I get unfocused, make me blurry. I tether myself 3 feet from me. I do not feel my ugly body. Like, yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. She gets it. And like, but it's just, oh my god, just everything about it insane. And then, yeah. That lyric, there's a sex shop off the highway with a biblical name. I was driving home from Charlotte the other week, and I saw an advertisement for a sex shop named Adam and Eve Sex Shop, and I went, oh, there's the sign.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of those like that are like there's like I want to say like one of the main like online sex shops is like Adam and Eve or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a chain out here that's like Adam and Eve. Like the other one, like the other major one the other 2 that I know of out here are both have really funny names. One of them is called Bedtime Stories, but time and bedtime is spelled with a Y.
Ooh.
And then the closest one to me is called Pandora's Box, but box has 3 X's. I'm just like, dude, what are we doing here?
Truly.
I love the South. It's beautiful. And then yeah, just the 2 lines that cut me deepest in the song. The snow didn't stick. It never does. Like yeah, it never does. It never does. It's just devastating to me. And then at night I don't count stars, I count the dark. Like that's a really corny go for broke line, but like I can excuse it when it's done with like that much conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Like just an obscene amount of conviction. I'm just like, yeah, you earned it. You earned it. Mm-hmm. It's just just good song. And like even now, like after months and months and months of listening to this thing, like it's still like when I'm listening to it in my car, I still get like goosebumps from it. like it just hits me so specifically. Yeah, shout outs to producer Alex Farrar. Man is just working on all sorts of great records out of Asheville. Just like so many good bands like that man has produced for. Like, I want to shout out some others beyond just Wednesday and Indigo D'Souza, but I want to make sure I get my citations right because I did
find the credits on a website. Because I was looking up to see like what stuff he's like done, you know, production or engineering for.
It's like mostly Asheville bands.
Yeah, it's like Angel Olsen, Indigo D'Souza. He did mixes for Snail Mail and Waxahachie, and then
he's been doing some bigger gigs.
Yeah, Archers of Loaf, Finn Lily, MJ Linderman, and you know more.
Yeah, that's the like, Loaf Boys.
Yeah, Nathaniel Ratcliffe, Suki Waterhouse, right for the Riff Raff. So again, also I guess the new Hippocampus he did either engineering for or production for, which is a record that I'm working on my job.
Like he's rising up as a name, and like you know him and Drop a Sun Studios. Those are both like real fucking great. Like Drop a Sun Studios, they record Animal Collective records now. It's serious business. Mm-hmm. Like it's a good studio from everything I've heard about it. People like it. It's just like, yeah, Asheville is a place to be artistically, even if it is too fucking expensive to live there now. Mm-hmm. As my dear friend Ian says, rent going up.
Well then,
like every for like 6 months, every time I would reference like, oh yeah, this Wednesday record, man, I think it's going to be really good, he would just send me rent going up. Just laugh again. It's just like, yeah. Rent going up.
Rent going up.
I mean, yeah, and as a whole, I think this record is just a real fine piece of work. It's a real craftsmanship. It makes me more excited than ever to see this band on the rise and just doing their best. I'm excited to see them like have a career. Like it's the first time in a while where I'm like, I could see this band going for like a good number of albums and like continuing to make really exciting stuff instead of like having the usual case that buzz bands nowadays seem to be trapped in, where it's like, oh yeah, you guys made one really good album. Wait, you don't have any more? Fine, fuck it, whatever. We'll like give you some covers sometimes, but like it's not that important. It's just like like everyone's just kind of like, yeah, they made one good one, I guess. Like even the bands who like continue to make good stuff, some of them just like get crowded out because it's just the nature of the churn now. Like, but it's just like Wednesday is one of the few bands that like I see having the potential to like range out their sound enough that they could continue making like another 5 great records that I would be really excited about. And I like with every Southern band, I'm like, I want to see a band have a career like REM, because like REM is to me the gold standard. It's like they made 15 albums over 30 years of being together. Like no two of them sound exactly alike. They all have different slates of appeal. They all have really interesting sounds. They tried so many different things, and they did a lot of them well. That's the kind of career I just want to see out of any given band. It's just like so hard to find that now in a given band, because just like the industry is not built for it anymore, obviously. And also like nobody is going to be the biggest rock band in the world anymore. So like it's kind of hard to expect that of anyone, but still just like the idea that the band like, it's like it's part of why I think I got excited about Big Thief back when Big Thief was going, because they felt like that kind of band.
I was gonna say that was the band I was thinking of, having sort of like the member of the band that also has like
Big Thief and Adrienne Linker,
of like has just as much acclaim as a solo artist as they are as a member of the band. Even you could even make a case for like Buck Meek also having
Buck Meek is also getting there because he's got his Buck freaks.
Exactly.
It's like. And this is a very Big Thief situation. I see this band as like everyone wants to compare them to Big Thief, but like the thing is, Big Thief are not trashy enough.
Yes,
and that's why I think at the end of the day, I'm always going to prefer this to like prestige indie rock, is because this band, like this is the kind of band I could see doing an Earnest Lips of an Angel cover.
Yes, which thank you, Lucy Dacus, for also doing an Earnest Lips of an Angel cover for that Stereo Gum comp from 2021.
Speaking of Lips of an Angel, to circle back around to the beginning, let me tell you, one of the first things that happened to me at that house show is like, I was talking to these 2 people who were just like really chill people, really nice to talk to. And then at some point, somebody just out of nowhere brought up the lyrics to the Lips of an Angel. I just immediately kicked into My Girl's in the next room. And we all just started singing along. And then immediately after that, we just started doing jumping jacks for some reason. I was just like, yep, this is what I want out of my life. It's just like pure idiocy, but in an artful form. And that to me is the appeal of Wednesday, is like, we got some real silly bullshit, but like, goddamn if we don't do it well.
And I think that's a good place to end this episode of FYC, the return of FYC. When will there be a next one? I don't fucking know. This is a case of, I would want to do more FYCs. There just has not been that many records that have come out this year to have warranted an FYC episode where we got to like drop everything and discuss this new record. Like even the stuff that's good this year, I don't know if there's enough of us where it's like, well, we got to talk about this record right now.
Yeah, I've never been one for years with consensus records per se. I feel like we might be able to pull it for Proto Martyr, because I feel like that's
I think there's enough swell people who have the advance. There's records that, like I would love if people buy into it, like spoiler alert, Water from Your Eyes and Bar Italia. Enough people were willing to buy into those records. I would love to talk about them more in depth, but again, we'll have to see.
There's only one other that I would like to talk about at length, Actually, maybe two, but I would have to see if I could organize a gals summit for one of them because like it's very specifically Pupil Slicer's new one, Blossom. I feel like that's going to be a very interesting record for all the sick metal freaks out there. Keep your eyes out. I might organize a gals summit just if I can, although all of us are going to be really fucking busy, so who knows? But like, yeah, and then like a couple others I'm like excited about this year, but it's just like, yeah, this is not a year for prestige records, and I like it that way because my favorite guys are always the sick freaks that
But
don't get any press coverage.
this is extending the podcast out even further. But like even then, my little guys, even then, I feel like I'm not finding as many little guys as I usually do.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, thankfully, I'm being covered by like my previous little guys. Like, there's no like our problem right now in the music industry is there's no new guys. There's no new guys. Like, not enough new guys. We're just like stuck with guys who like we had a few years ago. It's just like, yeah, you could make something good, but like, where's the new talent? Like that we've talked about it a lot. Like, just the problem so thoroughly with so much of the music industry right now is just like everything is falling apart, and so nobody is willing to pay any money to develop new talent in a meaningful way, and it's fucked. And like that's why I'm just like grateful that Wednesday managed to make it on the other side just in time, because it's like if Wednesday is the last indie rock band, then God, we picked a good one to go out on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like, and to wrap it up again, I really like that album title because it's like, yeah, a little heathen like me, a rat seeing God, you know, like little heathens finding some profundity in it all. Maybe that's what we need. That's what the world needs.
Yes. Well, then that we'll call it there. We'll conclude it there. Thank you for listening to this episode of FYC. If you're listening on Spotify, hey, you could have heard it a week early. You'll get the spiel from me at the beginning. But again, just if you skipped over that, hey, you could have gotten it a week early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast.
Go pay your money.
$1 a month, and you get our mainline episodes 40 hours early, and you get these FYC episodes a fucking week early. And if you want to go up to $5, hey, you get a bonus episode every month. And you get in the Discord server for just $1 too. Discord server is where you can find my unreleased rap song from 2013 called, oh god, okay, I'm gonna bleep this when I edit it, Rose. Okay. But I'm telling you because I want your reaction. The song is called Bimbo.
I feel like you have mentioned this before.
I have mentioned it because I have said that I could not, like, I knew that I did it, but I could not find it anywhere on the internet, which was like, oh, thank God. But I finally uncovered it today. Not happy about it.
Well, I'm glad you're supporting big bread companies, you know, like them. Like a bakery of that size needs the business.
Truly. Well then, we hope you all enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.